challenge for Tyson. Bloody thanks to Joshy Sharks not winning 30 plus. Well, it was a taste like. It's pretty hot. But anyway, here we go. One of those
This is Josh's fault, mate.
Oh, your fault with your Sharks, Joshy, this is.
30 plus, he said. Up the Dragons, mate.
Well, that's not bad.
It's not bad. He's fucking loving it. Hot chili, the cunt. Burn his arsehole tonight.
My bum might be sore later, but it's alright.
Hurry up, Josh. Turn the volume down on your phone. We know you're there having a chuckle at Shane Foote there at the intro with his chili challenge.
Mate, I'm trying to get set up here. I've fucking lost the plot. Shano on the chili challenge, the boys. Mate, this is what happens. This is what happens when you put your faith in the Sharkies.
I think this is what also people need to... The chili sauce challenge... That's not a bad one to take on, because chili sauce is fucking delicious. As Shane just found out in that video, and Brent, when he done the chili sauce challenge, the chili wheat bick, he loved it. He discovered a new snack.
He did, yeah. He put the old chili Tabasco sauce on the wheat bix and went down alright, I reckon. So we got to get him on the what have we got him? We got to get him on the old California Reaper chilies. Got to be a straight up chili with seeds.
Oh, he did not enjoy eating the raw chili. That was for sure. That was
that
was one of
as
the
much
best
fun.
ones. Yeah.
But guys, welcome to BJ and Game Day. Another week. We've got a substitution in. Bogan's here for the whole night. Congratulations to our co-host Brent Hampton on the birth of little Lennox during the week. So
I think you've got that wrong, Joshy.
Commiserations?
No, well, the birth of little Ben, you mean?
Ben Hampton, yeah, Ben Jr. Yeah. Mate, he'll be a better football player than Ben Hampton, that's for sure. Actually, in saying that, I saw Ben Hampton, he came on for a few minutes last week. He scored a total of 2 points. So his 5-round average wasn't good enough to beat Sivo, but after the 5th round, definitely. So
this round, instead of Sivo having a shocker, he's pummeled over fucking Teddy in one of the best tries I've ever seen.
Jesus!
And
Not
Ben
Teddy on
scored
his
2,
fucking ass.
Yeah.
But them's the breaks. That it makes for good TV what we saw last week. So I watched it back a couple of times myself and had a really good chuckle. It was bad because the first time I actually watched it, I felt like throwing up again just because I knew how bad it was, mate. It wasn't fun. It definitely wasn't fun. So, but mate, a week of, or I guess today, a lot of sort of to come out. Obviously, we see the thumbnail there. Bradman Best has done the wrong thing. He's gone and visited the parents. He hasn't followed protocol for COVID. And unfortunately for a lot of owners, I think a very, very high percent of Supercoach players, he will not be there this week to play. So we'll see him back next week in the team, no doubt. I think he's 489,000 already. So 2 very, very high jump ups in pricing, and now his break even's about 70 odd.
Yeah, well, I'm interested to see what their rules are. Like, is it a case he visited the parents, but they had fucking Uncle fucking Fred visiting from Wuhan or something?
Pretty much, yeah, could be. Yeah, Chinatown. That's where they met up for dinner. Yeah. I'm pretty sure they relaxed the rules, but there were still protocols to be followed, and he didn't follow those. So, unfortunately, with the NRL coming back and trying to be one of the sports leading the way and coming back, they did have their sort of little bubble that they was trying to stick into. And he's got a little bit wrong, Bradman.
It's probably a fair call. You've got the fucking whole Warriors team that are stuck over here away from their families.
Yeah, absolutely. And now that you mentioned the Warriors, obviously Stephen Carney getting the sack over the weekend, so be interesting to see there. He's done such a good job, obviously, to get the Warriors over here and the team committed to the NRL. And they've won 2 out of 4 games, and all of a sudden he gets the sack. So pretty unlucky there for Stephen Carney. I'm sure there's something else behind the scenes.
Yeah, and he'll be a good pickup for coaching staff of any clubs.
Yeah. You'll see him become an assistant coach, yeah.
That, or he'll go over and win a fucking Super League title.
A couple of comments already. Let's just run through them. Troy Jeffries, is Ikatar a sell? Look, considering that he's been not so much dropped, but obviously injured after last week's game. He came off after about 10 minutes there last week. Did manage to make it back on the park, but an ankle injury, I think, for him. So I can't blame anyone for selling him. But at this stage this week, with the amount of ins and outs and suspensions, and obviously the massive injury there last weekend to Turbo with the hamstring going, he's probably the least of worries. But if you don't have Turbo and you don't have those worries, definitely can see him as a sell.
There's a lot of us out there that have the Teddy Turbo combination, and even Teddy's still in doubt. He's been named, but he's still got to pass a couple of head injury assessments before
protocol,
he'll be cleared to play. So could be interesting if Teddy gets ruled out as well.
Mate, very tough week for super coaches. I've already seen a few teams sort of come out on the Facebook pages about this is the team I can put on the park, and through injuries, through the suspension, obviously a couple of Broncos players there in Carrigan, Flegler suspended, Nathan Brown suspended for a couple of weeks. I know he'd made his way into a few teams as well. So not the easiest of weeks. Players like your Jermaine Asako drop. We've mentioned Bradman Best. So, there will be a few teams struggling to put... I don't think you'll struggle to put 17 on the park.
No.
But I think there'll be a few teams that will struggle to put their best 17 or a quality 17 on the park, that's for sure.
Yeah.
What else about last week, mate? Did we notice anything else Supercoach related?
I'm sure it'll pop up as we go through the results.
Absolutely. Let's jump on to Thursday night game there, mate. And I can't even remember who played. It was that long ago. I think the Knights got over the Broncos.
Yeah. The pain continues for the Broncos. That forward pack it's too big. It hasn't got enough gas by the looks of things.
Yeah, mate. They're getting sort of to that back end of the game and not really having enough to get through. So it is a little bit disappointing. I think what the Broncos really lack is that depth off the bench. A lot of the other teams, when they sort of bring on those players off the bench, have just got, you don't really lose anything. Your fresh players off the bench just have such a big impact as well. Whereas the Broncos players, you don't really get that. Obviously, Payne Haas didn't have as many minutes there during this week. He did sort of get a 20-minute rest in between. So he probably had a smaller score than a lot of people were hoping. I know Hampton managed to captain him there. Points-wise this week, mate, I scored 1,097. I think you just cracked the 1,100, about 1,110.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think Hampton was around about 1,030. So
it looked like it was a pretty low-scoring week.
Look, across the boards, I think if you cracked 1,200, you were flying.
1,300 and something. And it was another one of those teams that you look at and you go, well, that bloke's just fucking arsed it for the week. There's no way that you'd pick those players usually.
Last week, the week before, I think 1,550 or so was the top score, and it was genuinely a team that looked awesome, So that's the first time in a long time I've seen that, and I think the guy was ranked about 400th overall. So, that's where he jumped up to after the 1,550. So, interesting to see. Most weeks we'll see a ragtag sort of team put together. No doubt Daniel Saifidi would have been in it, and he's performing quite well for the Knights up front. He's sort of outshone David Clemmer the last couple of weeks. So,
as you notice, his lesser performing brother is on the bench for my draft team there, as you can see in the grey.
Yeah.
So,
mate, Jacob's going all right, but obviously he just doesn't get bigger minutes.
With that dual position, I think he's a good pick to have if in your draft team as a utility, just to provide that flexibility. So that's why he's there. And 43, I wouldn't complain about that for a player pick just to be a emergency essentially.
Kalen Ponga is on a lot of people's lists at the moment to get in, obviously with the injury to Turbo.
Mm-hmm.
It is around about, I think, a 60 or 70K jump up to Ponga, so a little bit tough to get to him.
He's a little bit more.
Yeah, but obviously he's been in great form all this season so far, so you can't really blame anyone to grab him in. For the Broncos, look, yeah, painful everywhere. Obviously, Tavita Pangai top scored there with 61, but yeah, he's just too inconsistent for mine. He probably throws plenty too many offloads, a few too many errors. But they really be waiting to get Dave Fafita back as well, because they are definitely a better team with Pangai, Haas and Fafita on the field. Matt Lodge in there as well. And once that forward pack gets going, look, they don't really need to have massive depth on the bench because all those guys can play massive minutes. But, yeah, time will tell with the Broncos because they're definitely
like as I said, I think there might be some endurance problems in their forward pack, but they've got fucking nothing on their back line. Nothing that's firing at the moment. And you need to score. You need to score points to win games.
It's funny because obviously Asako's been dropped to the bench, and I made a comment there on Facebook today. He actually looks like their best player when they're in attack. Any speed that the Broncos backline's got comes from him and how he comes in there in that fullback role. So I'm not too sure what this Tessie New can do, but we'll see what happens there. I just think, your forward pack's going miserable, and all of a sudden you drop the fullback. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. But
outside of Supercoach, because it's a non-fucking answer for it. But as a player, Milford, is he redeemable?
No. Look, it's just been too long, mate. It's just, the days of when he was playing fullback for Canberra, that short sort of spell, and when he went to the Broncos originally, I don't know what it is about Milfy. There's so much potential there, but he's just going to go down in the game as one of the ultimate. Could have been. Absolutely. And I don't think in that Broncos team he can do anything more. So at the moment, I think he's just happy to take the check every week. Broncos have got an easy run in the next 3 or 4 weeks. So if he's ever going to perform, it's got to be in the next 3 to 4 weeks, because he could very, very well find himself dropped by the end of the season.
Some people could argue who's ever playing the Broncos has got an easy run.
Well, that's true too. The Friday night footy, mate. Who did we have in the first game?
Bunnies. Big win for the Bunnies, actually fucking playing decent football for once.
Yeah, look, I think Cookie's ears must have been burning.
Yeah.
Hampton and I talking about him in the show there last week, wondering whether he'd sort of capped out. All of a sudden he comes out, gets a meat pie, tons up, and obviously 108 there, low top score for the week, but did manage to top score throughout the league. So a return to form for him, for Cookie there. Campbell Graham is having a massive season in the centre three-quarter there for the Bunnies. He really is coming on as a good player. I've had him a couple of years past in draft leagues, and always could guarantee him sort of scoring 130, 140 points in a game here or there. So Latrell Mitchell continued pretty good form. Cam Murray was solid enough without being brilliant, but really good performance there from the Bunnies. I thought the Warriors may have a chance to sort of take it to him, but Bunnies just too polished.
Yeah, well, as I said, it's nice to see the Bunnies return to form. But that being said, it's against the Warriors, who are the most hot and cold team ever to exist. So we'll see how they go. We'll see how they go this week.
Yeah, shining light for the Warriors week in, week out. Tohu Harris, their second rower, continues his action as an absolute pod in this game. I think he's just up there with the best second rowers in the game, activity-wise. Very much plays 80 minutes, and you can guarantee a good score. Really his floor is around that 50 mark. And the ceiling isn't quite high, but consistency is something he's got, where the rest of his team really don't. Friday night footy.
Yeah, I'm a bit slow on the buttons. Sorry. Panthers Storm.
Yeah, obviously the Penny Panthers getting a good win for Shano, his boys. 21-14 over the Storm was a massive game for them. They repelled the Storm time and time again. Played well themselves. Some good play across the park here. Joshy Mansour just continues to play really, really well. Nathan Cleary had another solid game. Munster for the Storm was brilliant again. So some really good
I was,
play.
I was going to say Cam
Coaches.
Munster his ears must have been burning as well. I don't know if it was last week or the week before. You and Brent were talking about him, and
Yeah, he basically needs to lead that team. I think we've spoken about how the halfback, whether it's Riley Jacks, whether it's Jerome Hughes, not really good enough, mate. So Cam Munster's definitely got to be the one that steps up. And
is he gonna be the one that steps in for Smith when Smith does decide to pull the pin? You reckon? Is it Munster that will step up into that leadership role?
Of course, mate. He has to. I think he already pretty much has. I think you look at the field there, and maybe not in the voice, and maybe not in the way he sort of acts on the park, but definitely in the way he plays. He's definitely taken that role as the Storm's number one playmaker and where they go to for their attack. So Cam Smith looks as lethal as ever. A little bit of a quieter game for him there last week, but he still managed to score quite well. So anyone who's got him, he's a definite pot at only about 12-13% ownership.
And if you ditched Pappenhausen, good for you.
20 odd points, 25 points.
I haven't seen what his price drop has been, but you'd fucking think it'd be a lot now.
Yeah, I'd say he's probably down in the mid 400s, mate. I'd say he's probably down to about 440, 450.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he just hasn't taken as well to 80-minute football as a fullback. We saw him last year come on in spurts and just that X factor people hadn't seen before. He just hasn't quite figured it out from the fullback role. So I'm not too sure if Belly would ever consider Jerome Hughes back to fullback, keep Riley Jackson there and go back to that lock role or that utility role that he plays off the bench. But time will tell. What do we got next, mate? The Saturday games.
Mary's saved for another week.
Yeah, 2 in a row for the Dragons. As much as it was against the Titans up at Suncorp in a wet and dreary game.
What did you say? Lomax was a good trade last week. He's probably
absolutely.
He's hit his peak. He's good to sell.
Yeah, look, I thought he was done, Lomax, and he comes out and scores a try. I think he set up one, kicked a few goals. He's probably the best on the park there, Lomax. So 86 points, and I think a lot of those top scorers actually still had him and played him, and another one there alongside Lomax. Drinkwater for the Cowboys when we get to that game as well. Scored about 90 odd. So a couple of guys I didn't have Lomax, but considered starting with him. But I well and truly would have traded him out by now if I did have him. But I traded Drinkwater well and truly after the first or second round. Look, just a shit two teams. I don't really talk about him too much. Maiki Futuaka continued his good form. So he's an easy buy for anyone who's got him out of there. We talked about him being awkwardly priced. If you had got him in that mid 400s, you're laughing because I think he's probably up to about 550, almost 600 now. What else we got, mate? Next game there?
Tigers Cowboys.
Wow, game of two halves. This one, Tigers out to 34-0 at halftime. The Cowboys were dreadful. Tigers were good, but it was just one of those games where every bounce of the ball in that first half went the Tigers' way, and they tended to score a few tries from it. Harry Grant with a huge game again. He was just awesome. David Nofaluma, for anyone who's got him at home, I've owned him. I think he's up to about 660k at the moment. Had another solid game. Didn't score a try, but set up a couple of line breaks and one or two there himself as well. As we mentioned for the Cowboys, Drinkwater Hughes with 91 points. Esan Masters had a little bit of return to form for any owners. Very, very frustrating time owning Esan at the moment after his 12 points or whatever it was last week, the sin binning, and very quiet. So anyone who traded him out would have absolutely been cursing themselves. Tamalola had another solid game, 76 points there, so pretty happy for most owners. I think Hampton managed to get him back in last week, so not a bad player. Mate, yeah. Joshy Reynolds, 67 points. He was your little pod?
I'll let him put in a few more performances before I start making you fellas and all you cunts in the chat eat crow about Joshy Reynolds, but he hasn't gone down in price.
No, he hasn't gone down in price. And
So
if he keeps
even if
performing
I
like
have
that,
to offload him a bit later on, he'll be a little bit of profit there.
I tell you what, one of my buys for the week, Luke Garner for the Tigers, scored only about 45 odd points last week, but with the amount of players in that second row, people are looking to upgrade. He's shown before with the Tigers his combination with Luke Brooks is awesome. They are up against the Doggies this week. He is on that left-hand side. He could start to score big. He's got that starting role back, and I think he'll start to play 80 despite the Tigers having 4 players on the bench. So,
Now, Twall.
yes.
I was still waiting on NRL physio to get his report.
You and every other bloke out there, mate.
Yeah, looks like he could be out for a little bit though. Is he worth benching, or do you get rid of him and bring someone else in?
Nah, look, I think you get rid of him. With that score on the board, I think they're talking about 4 to 6 weeks for a medial ligament strain. You got to get rid of him. There's too many other options out there. I mentioned Luke Garner. It's a little bit of a hard one because there's a lot of guys this week who may have 4 or 5 players in jeopardy. We obviously talk about Turbo that's gone down injured. Twal's the other one. But you've got blokes like Carrigan, Flegler that are suspended, a few others that may be in and out of teams as well. So any one of those 4 or 5 guys you could probably upgrade to someone like a Garner.
Get Madison. If you don't have Madison, get Madison.
Oh, Madison, mate, absolutely.
He's been a fucking rock this year.
Yeah. And again, a lot like Tohu Harris, the lowest score you're going to find out of him really is around that 50 mark, maybe even 60. But attacking-wise, he's just got so much upside, great offloads. It's consistently, average that sort of 70, 75, 90 points. He'll throw in a ton here or there as well. So if you don't have Madison at this stage, you've got to have him. Tamalolo's the other one. Those two are the guys you've got to have in your second row.
I think I'm going to chuck the VC on Madison this week, just because Teddy's my set and forget captain. But if he gets ruled out, Madison as a loop is not a bad bloke to have, I reckon.
Yeah, no, fair call. On this Saturday night, the 7:30 game.
Yeah, speaking of, this was the big game.
What a game. Wow. This was a cracker. Definitely the 2 best teams in the comp at the moment. No disrespect to Melbourne, no disrespect to a couple of other teams that are up there, including Manly, who have played well. But the Eels really showed they can take it up to the Roosters. They hit the front end about the 60th minute mark, but the Roosters were just a little bit too classy in the end. Brett Morris, Joshy Morris, the 2 Morris twins, career best form despite the hair getting grey and the boys getting older.
They still look like
fantastic.
They still look like they're 19 though.
Oh mate, look, the speed of the boys. They're just out in the park. They just look great, and just the professionalism. They really will go down as one of the best brothers combinations that we've seen in rugby league. There's been a few of them over the years, but these guys are just brilliant at everything they do. It hasn't mattered which club they've gone to, whether it was Saints, whether it was Cronulla for Brett, for Joshy, whether it was the Doggies. They've just played good wherever they've gone.
But they've always had that magic when they're together.
Yeah.
They feed off each other's energy, it seems.
And from a Supercoach point of view, anyone who had Daniel Tupou, you'd be counting your absolute lucky stars. He went down early in the game, I think about 5 or 10 minutes in with an ankle injury. Somehow managed to come back on the park and scored 94 points. So huge effort from Dan Tupou. Best bloke in the game under the high ball. Xavier Coates is probably going to give him a run for his money over the years as he develops. But Daniel Tupou under the high ball is just an absolute freak. Angus Crichton was solid again.
Yeah.
Look, one bloke I actually managed to bring in drafts this way. I know he scored a try, Boyd Cordner, but it looks like he's starting to get a little bit of form again. I don't think he's a classic option, but I've jumped him in Supercoach draft this week. So hopefully I can get him through in the waivers. From an Eels point of view, obviously Nathan Brown scored quite well there with 95. Some of his runs were just absolutely awesome. He's just got to try and get these niggly little sort of, I guess, losses of character, you could call it, out of his game because he finds himself on the sideline for another 2 weeks, and this time it's not through injuries, through suspension. Madison, we mentioned, mate, awesome. Jennings, a little bit throwback to yesteryear with Michael Jennings. Again, opposite Joshy Morris, the two old dogs definitely dominated their centre pairings. Joshy Morris destroyed Wanga Blake and Jennings destroyed Joey Manu. So I'm hoping that can put a light up Joey Manu because he's one of my trade-ins this week. So we'll talk about that a little bit later.
And Sivo would have scored shit if he didn't score what would have to be close to the try of the year so far.
Mate, wow. Absolutely put Teddy on his ass. Holy crap.
Probably more importantly, put Teddy on his fucking head. But
mate, the whiplash, you saw it there, and you saw it in one of the later games, the Sunday game, Canberra and Manly, Brad Parker, 3 minutes in doing the same thing, just hitting the ground and no contact from the body or the opposite player on the head, but that whiplash of the head into the ground, just absolutely knocking these guys out. So, very interesting. AJ on game day. Atro, mate, we'll have to call you in sometime. I think Shano's got dibs ahead of you, mate. But we'll see.
Yeah, well. Yeah, we want to get fucking Big Ted in as well. TJ.
Big Ted. Big Ted. He'll always be our number one fan.
I know he'll be fucking watching the replay. So if we do start to get guests in, that won't be a live show. That'll have to be a pre-recorded.
We'll have to do the recording.
Yeah,
mate. I'm loving the new guys coming on board, but we obviously have the boys who have been with us from the start. The Big Teds, the Martys, the Waynos. These lads have been with us there from day one. So the more the merrier. We're happy to have everyone on board, and we'll give you a shout out and play whatever videos you idiots, Shano and Tyson, use the absolute lunatics. But boys will definitely get on there as much as we can.
It would have to be a double up with Shano and Tyson if we had guests on. So
for sure.
Both of them.
We'll have them on the couch together down there in Penrith. So that's for sure. First game on the Sunday there, mate, and as we spoke about, Manly, tragedy here with Turbo going down injured. Fortunately enough, it was in the 58th minute and we got 78 points out of him. I did manage to captain Turbo. I put it at a little bit of a call out there on Facebook on the BJ and Game Day page, whether to go Turbo, whether to go SJ. I did end up going Turbo. Turbo scored 78, SJ scored 75, so really didn't make too much difference at the end of the day. But the Raiders, another loss. They're definitely not the premiership. I wouldn't say premiership contenders, but a lot of people, 3 weeks ago, let's go back, they were favourites for the comp, and now they're out fourth favourite, I think now. So a little bit of a drift in the market. They just haven't looked as good this year. I'm not too sure what it is. Hopefully they can put it together. But no, Johnny Bateman is definitely hurting them there because he brought so much to that team last season.
Yeah, well, that being said, a couple of good games and they're back in it. They've definitely got the roster, so yeah, it's a bit of a shame.
As Adro's saying on the chat there, they did get beat by half a team. Dylan Walker fracturing his foot in the 3rd minute. A minute later, Brad Parker going down, knocked out. Turbo in the 59th minute. Canberra, they've only been beat 8 points, so you had plenty of time after Turbo goes down. Manly are down to a 14-man rotation, and they just couldn't get it done. Well, they couldn't find a way through.
They didn't score that 6 until fucking late in the game either. Because I thought, here we go, here's a comeback, because they've sort of lost that faders tag over the past couple of seasons, but they couldn't roll on with it. But they did have their opportunities, they just didn't take them.
And I think, you look across the park for the Raiders, and there's a few guys down on their form from last year. Probably Charles Nickel-Clockstad's one. He was.
Hold on. Chat, we still live?
Have I frozen again?
No.
Nah, that should be good.
No, we're still good.
We're still good.
It's usually when someone puts an F in the chat, that means that the fucking streams went down.
Stop swearing.
Fuck off.
Why the fuck should we stop swearing? Sorry, buddy.
What, are we gonna get fucking
Jackie boy? If you're a young fella, mate, I do apologise. This is this
adults,
is directed towards our adults only fans, or But mate, we just swear. It's what we do.
Yeah,
it's Aussie.
And all right, you're fucking gone, champ.
Mate, but for Manly, obviously Turbo having a good game there. Turbo was solid enough, but he's just, again, he's probably not as good as we once thought he was for Supercoaches. 60 to 65 points seems to be where he is week in, week out. Corey Horsburgh for the Raiders, he was huge. A lot of offloads there. He's probably one I can imagine if anyone's after a pod, if he can continue the minutes and can continue the development. I probably was moving away from him earlier in the season, but I think he's a chance there now. So, yeah.
And can I just say something? Because I lost my temper a little bit there. Don't give a fuck what you say in the chat, guys. Go nuts, but don't fucking spam shit because it just fucking annoys me and it annoys the other people in chat. So I will fucking ban you for that. And I don't want to ban anyone, but you can fuck off, Jack.
I think that's a first, is it?
Yeah.
That's a first. You're getting big on YouTube when you got a ban cunts.
Yeah, well, we don't have a mod, so it's just pissing me off. And I haven't fucking banned Kane Anderson, so it goes to show I'm not that impatient.
Kando's a good bloke. What are you talking about? But yeah. And the final game of the round, mate, my boys are somehow lasting over the Doggies. Again, this was it was a frustrating game to watch this one because the referee, Adam G, his name is, took absolutely way too much interest in this game. I've never seen so many set restarts in the game. I think they might have ticked over to 20. The play the balls from the Doggies as well, like Cronulla, the Dogs, both teams were absolutely fine in the ruck area, and this bloke just kept blowing set restarts. I've got to say, in the end, Cronulla just made more advantage out of it, and I think I reckon this bloke cost Bulldogs the game because the way he reffed it, it just sort of took them out of it. They definitely could have done Cronulla here, and maybe even won by a couple of tries. So a little bit unlucky there with the Doggies. From a point of view of Supercoach, Sione Katoa scored a treble, managed to ton up. I was a little bit disappointed. I actually had Lisa Fire and Ice in the BJ and GameDay League. I think it was 20 points going behind into the game, and I had SJ up against Sione Katoa, and I thought I'm a chance here, but every time SJ set something up, it was for Katoa, and you get more for tries and setting them up. So both of them had a really solid game. Aaron Woods was good. Sharon Woods, whether you want to call him that or Aaron, either way, he actually played a really good game for the Sharkies up front.
It was a big week for players. I don't want to say winding the clock back, but players coming from out of nowhere that usually get middling or low scores actually scoring pretty well this week, and your typical high scorers not.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a strange round for that.
Climmy on thoughts on Adam Elliott. Mate, you're right. I do tend to steer away from Doggies players. The only player I've ever really not steered away from or could accept that people had was Will Hopewadi, and I think it shows there with his 80 points. He from a fullback position, Kano, that's another one Kano got me on. He traded me Dugan for Hopewadi there a couple of weeks ago, me not realising that Hopewadi was going back to fullback. But anyway, Elliott, look, it's just the inconsistencies, mate. Sometimes he's a little bit too much of a try-hard. I don't know whether he knows his actual place in the team, whether it is as a ball-playing lock. Sometimes he does, and those games are where you get what you see, 91 points. And then there'll be the games where he goes back and he just trucks it up and he makes a few tackles and he'll score 35 or 40. And when you've got someone in the second row in Supercoach, you just can't have that. If you had dual position like Isaiah Yeo in the centre three quarters, absolutely I could see getting him in there. But I just think there's other players, second row position, that's the premium position in Supercoach. So I'd be making sure I've got 5 or 6 guns there before I even look at someone like him. Is Avarillo a play now? He's in the centres. I'm leading towards yet. Manny Ledbetter. mate, thank you for your comment there last week, mate. We made it a little pick there. I couldn't figure out how to make it the cover photo on our BJ and Game Day Facebook page, but preferring to watch 3 hours of us than 5 minutes of Tommy Sangster. Mate, I'll remember that for the rest of my life. Jakey Avarillo, wow, what a beast. I love the look of this kid. Really, really disappointed that Morgan Harper isn't there as well, but Avarillo looks absolutely sensational. 75 points, and that try was actually disallowed, the breakaway from an accidental offside. So could have actually scored more for the team as well. Looks really good. I can't get him into my team, and if he keeps performing like this, like if he was on any other team than the Dogs, I'd probably have him in there straight away. But the fact that he's on a Doggies team, he could come out this week and score 20. So he's just a wait and see for mine. But if you've already got him, or if you want to get him in, I couldn't blame you.
The big hit.
The hit. Wow. Look, 2 of the biggest hits I've ever seen in football. Sevo on Teddy. And, we talk about the Georgie Tafurs. We talk about the Steve Maddeyes, the hits that these boys put on. I honestly believe that's the biggest hit I've ever seen in football. Dallin Watene-Zelezniak on Matt Moylan. It was millimetre perfect, not inch perfect. It was millimetre perfect. It was the sweet spot. Wow. that was just awesome. I love to watch it. And the fact that Moyes had just got straight up as well, I love to see that as well. Again, these are professional footy players and they get hit, not like that, but close enough to that every game and every day. So you got to think that they jump up. But yeah, wow, that was just awesome, mate. What else we got? That's it for the games this week.
That's it for the games that were played last week.
Hampton, if you're on the chat, mate, why don't you jump on the bloody screen?
Because he's got 14 kids hanging off him as he's on the chat.
Mate, get the young fella in there with you.
He's on a Fisher-Price fucking iPhone.
What do we got? Games next week. Thursday night footy. This will be a good game, mate.
Yeah.
Penny Panthers will probably be favourites, but obviously South starting to hit form again. I toyed with the fact of bringing Latrell in this week, purely because I was trying to figure out who to move Turbo to, whether it be Ponga, whether it be Latrell. I've gone with a little bit of a different angle, which we'll run through the trades, and I've gone down in price so I can actually afford a different kind of upgrade. So we'll get to that. Oh, we may as well talk about it now because the guys in this game, I've actually gone Billy Walters up to Nathan Cleary. So I've used the cash downgrading Turbo. I've brought in Joey Manu. Just a little bit of a hunch this one, just a little bit of pod mood. Joey's not probably had the best of seasons so far, and he's definitely been outshone by the other backs there for the Roosters. But we know what he can do, and the fact that they're up against the Dragons this week, I reckon he might be able to ton up. So the same there with Nathan Cleary. I reckon he's due another couple of good games in a string of form, and up against a good Bunnies outfit might be the time to step up. So looking forward to seeing these guys. In other changes, obviously Jimmy Roberts has been added to the bench there. Whether that happens or not, we're not too sure, but not too many changes for either of these teams from last week.
Fair enough. I'm a bit slow on the fucking uptake. Sorry about that.
Troy Jeffries, as a Panthers fan, DWZ was not a Supercoach high scorer, but great play. Mate, absolutely. We've spoken about this before. DWZ is absolutely the best ball returner in the game. I truly believe with how hard he runs. Probably not the elusiveness, but definitely how hard he runs. But it just doesn't equate into Supercoach scores. If you've got DWZ in there, you're definitely struggling. I know he scored about 68 or so last week, but there'll be more 20s and 30s than there will be 60s or 70s. First game on the Friday night there, mate, and we've got the Storm up against the Warriors. The Warriors' first game here under Todd Payton as the caretaker coach.
It's about time Toddy Payton's being given a gig as a head coach, though. So
why?
Oh, mate, his success with flag teams and stuff like that. He's actually a fucking good coach.
Mate, oh no, I was just wondering whether you actually followed. Mate,
Oh,
yeah,
no, there's a bit of a not. I wouldn't say personal. My brother had the privilege of playing with Todd Payton back in the '90s.
Yep.
As a junior.
Yeah, okay.
And the
Mate.
super nice guy. Former alumni of Arundel College.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's good to see that he's finally getting that coaching opportunity. There has often been talk of him getting gigs. He's always like the second or third bloke talked about every time a coach is sacked. So for the Warriors to give him a shot, I hope he goes well.
Mate, absolutely. Look, Toddy Payton, as you say, he's coached a lot of fleet teams, a few under-20s teams as well with the Tigers and that there. Always had really good success. So it is nice to see him actually get that coaching role. Whether he lasts longer than the season, we'll just have to wait and see. You've got to think there's something behind the scenes there with the Warriors because Carney, at the end of the day, wasn't doing a bad job. I think the roster that he's got may be a little bit iffy. Obviously, they lost SJ to the Sharkies there last season. I think that was a mistake. But, a few disappointing names across the park there for the Warriors. RTS definitely having his worst season in a long time. We may start to hear a few words of retirement here or there with his form.
That being said, you mentioned it with the Dragons when they were talking about getting rid of Mary. It's that magical thing in rugby league when there's a mid-season coach change, teams will lift.
Yep.
I don't know about the Storm, but
I was going to say that they'll need to it because at the end of the day they're playing the Storm.
I was going to say, what are the Warriors paying? Probably about fucking $7.
Yeah, I'd say there'd be $5 or $6. Yeah. Kenny Mamalo back on the wing, so he's had his issues so far this season. Definitely not living up to that breakout season there last year.
Living up to rocks and diamonds, that's for sure. That's what we called him last year.
That's true. Couple of changes there for the Warriors in the forward pack. Obviously, Jack Murchie gets the start for Elisa Katoa, who is out injured. Carl Lawton comes in the number 9 spot for Wade Egan, who is out. I'm pretty sure he's suspended. Tanua Brown, that's right, the eye gouging. Tanua Brown in the forward pack continues to perform quite well. And we see the return on the bench there of Chanel Harris-Tavita. So we'll see how he goes. Not really too many changes there for the Storm. We see Joshi Addo-Carr come back for Marion Seve on the wing after he was given personal leave for birth of a new little one. So congratulations to him. What do we got in the chat? No, you're all talking shit. Pappenhausen for Teddy if Teddy don't play.
Ooh.
Fuck, you be brave bringing Pappenhausen in, mate.
Well,
that's for sure.
Yeah, now he's going to score fucking 200. But
Gomez, Munster will go 180.
Maybe if you captain
180. I tell you what, it wouldn't surprise me, Adro. Mate, the form that he's in, I'm not too sure he'll get to a 180, but a 130, 140 is definitely on the cards against this team. Second game on the Friday night, mate, the 7:30, the 8 o'clock game these days.
This could be fucking ugly.
Wow. The Dragons, I know they've won 2 on the trot, but they're about to go into a world of hurt here against the most professional team in the comp at the moment. The Roosters just look awesome. They came up against an absolute, awesome team last week in the Eels and got the job done. So when you're playing against the Stellar Dwellers, hopefully they don't go into the game too complacent. They could put 60 on them. Yeah. And this is why I brought Joey Manu in, is playing against the Dragons. I think that he could be due a big game as well. The Dragons have obviously brought a lot of... the Roosters have brought a lot of looks towards the Morris boys and obviously Tupou and Teddy. So he might just be the forgotten man there, Joey Manu, and I reckon he's due for a big game on that right-hand side. Siwa Takiaho continues to play well. I think he scored over about 200 metres there last week, so he's an option for anyone who wants something a little bit different. But obviously with those kick injuries with Kyle Flanagan, just takes a little bit of an edge away from him. Mate, Victor Radley. Here I was spruiking him a week or two ago saying maybe I was wrong, and he came out and scored a miserable 35 points this week.
Yeah, he didn't score too much better the week before either, but he's a hooker. He plays better out of hooker. than he does out of lock.
Yeah, I will agree with that. Because just his mentality with attacking changes.
Yeah.
I can definitely agree with that one.
Yeah, I think he's a better player when the ball is in his hands often, and it just doesn't seem to get that opportunity playing out of lock.
Please talk about Ridley. I'm assuming you mean Radley. Is he a swap for Appy and start with Grant?
I was going to get rid of Appy this week.
Is he a swap
my
for?
mind at the last minute.
So to bring Appy, okay. Look, I think you've missed the boat there with Appy. Now that you're never too sure whether he's going to play 80 or 50, I think you've missed the boat there. I think you've probably just looked at a way to upgrade to Smith. I
was going to say I was going to trade Appy for Smith this week. I've decided to leave it a week for my other trades that we'll see later on.
Blakey, Saab's a gun, see how he goes. Yeah, obviously Jason Saab getting his first start for the year in place of Jordan Pereira, who's been suspended for that hit he put on last week. Mate, I don't doubt that he's a gun, but he's in a shit team, so it's always hard to come into a team like this and be expected to, I guess, perform well for Supercoaches. You know, at the end of the day, that's what we're sort of talking about as Supercoach. I don't think there'll be too many people who have got him or have held him from the start of the year if you started with him and he didn't get a spot.
I think, unfortunately, I know I've got a couple. I've got Zach Lomax, for instance, but you'd only be looking at the Dragons forwards, hoping that they make a shit ton of tackles this week.
Oh, mate, Paul Vaughan, I think he's a great player to have in your team. Anyone who's sort of got him, and we've spoken about Cam McInnes before. He'll move to that lock role when Benny Hunt comes on. And, like Shano says in the chat there, he'll make 60 to 70 tackles this game because he'll have to. So he'll score quite well again this week, Cam McInnes. First game on the Saturday, mate?
That would be the Cowboys up against the Knights.
Okay, so a couple of good young
Hammer. We talked up the Hammer last week and he went shit.
Look, he did go shit. I think he only scored about 35 points. At halftime, I think he was on -1 or so. So he did make a few inroads in the second half. It's got to be expected. I think the hard part for this team is in the halves. Without Morgan there, and obviously without Holmes at the back. Holmes is basically, very much that fullback role we see these days where you're the second or third receiver in these plays. And without him, without Morgan, this team's just so much less effective. Once those two players come back, as I said, I thought these guys were smokies for the premiership, and I'm happy to stick to that if Holmes and Morgan are healthy because they've obviously got the forward pack there that can get into a lot of games. Joshy Maguire's having a great season. Tamalolo goes without saying. Hess looks okay. Mitch Dunn looks okay as well with a solid bench. So I actually do like this team. I say a solid bench. I'm talking about the 15, 16, and 17 there, not so much that number 14 bloke. But, yeah. And the Knights, well, their forward pack's probably what's got them a lot of their games this year. The Saifidi twins are awesome. Clemmer's playing solid enough. And McCulloch, huge signing for him. He's really given them a lot of direction up the middle. So, again, probably two teams that will probably make the back end of the top 8 if they can find their healthiest team on the park. Troy Jeffries, is Hess a hold or a sell with injuries? Mate, I think he's a hold, provided he keeps getting that starting spot. He's just a hard one to catch. At the start of the season, he jumped back into a couple of good spots, but since then he's had a couple of shit games. Ponga for captain, yeah, mate, you may as well. Look, this is the type of team he comes up against where he could go big again. He's in form. I think he'll be a popular captain choice for a lot of players that do have him. All right, what do we got next, mate?
Broncos Titans.
Finally a Queensland team's going to win a game.
Yeah, you're going to go squeeze your nose up against the fence and try and squint this one, Joshy, up there?
Nah. No? I don't want to watch these two shit teams.
Titans in with a chance to win a game. Another one, too.
Well, yeah, the way the Broncos are going, why not? Obviously, Corey Thompson, he was the...
you'd have to think they'd be confident.
I wouldn't think they'd be confident, but they'd be happy that they got a chance.
Mm.
As I was saying, Corey Thompson, the recipient of that hit there last week from Jordan Pereira, but he seems to be okay. Solid backline there. Philip Semi may be in a little bit of doubt. I know he's obviously been named, but a couple of injuries there last week on the park. We'll just see whether he lines up. And Moe Fatuake just keeps going awesome in the front row there. Jai Arrow, oh, God, frustrating at the moment. I'm glad I don't have him. If I was a Jai Arrow owner, I'd be so close to selling.
I told people at the start of the season not to bother with him. He's already got his bag packed.
Yeah,
why would you?
Well through that.
Why would you push yourself any harder than you fucking have to this season if you're Jai Arrow? He's going to get picked for Origin. He's got a sweet gig next year lined up. Fuck this season. Just fucking get through it injury free.
Very true. What have we got next, Bogan? I don't want to talk about this game. They're two shit Queensland teams. I love living here. Hate their football teams.
Parramatta Raiders.
Oh, this is a cracker.
It is a good
Raiders really, really need to step up. If they're going to be taken serious as a premiership contender, the simple fact is they've lost John Bateman, so they've got to get over that. Horsburgh will definitely be one to step up, but none of these three in the back line, in the back row, have anything on what John Bateman did last year. So the loss of, obviously, Junior Paulo and things like that as well. Asias Oliola, well, he's not getting any younger, that's for sure. Still plays good in patches. And Joshy Papali as well is starting to get, a little bit rounder and a little bit older. But he will throw out the 100-point Supercoach game here or there. But I just think that's where the Raiders lose it, is in that forward pack. Saliva Havili off the bench last week, he looked their best player. As much as he dropped a couple of key balls, the way he runs was just absolutely awesome. Gomez, not optimistic. Yeah, mate, I wouldn't be either. I think Parramatta, I don't think they'll put plenty on you, but I definitely think they'll be winning the Para Eels in this game. Para just starting to figure out how to play together. It's just really working. King Gutho pops up everywhere. Sivo and Fergo, if the ball gets to them, they're going to perform well. They're going to run well. And we've spoken about players like Madison and the effect that they've got. So Nathan Brown there in the 13, we know he won't get a spot. He has been suspended for 2 weeks. It's come out not too long ago. So it'll be interesting to see how they rotate that bench there and who comes into the team. Mate, I think the Raiders, I'm not too sure what Ricky's going to do, but they need to find a little bit more spark in that back line because Croker looks slow. Curtis Scott is a huge liability in defence. If I was any team, I'd be looking at risk running straight through him because he just makes some wrong decisions. He's not a small body, but he definitely makes some stupid decisions. Can Raiders score 10 at the moment? Yeah, well, that's the question, Matty, is obviously a dour affair the week before against the West Tigers. They really need to get that attack back on board. And then the Sunday, mate, afternoon footy, you've got the Manly Seagulls up against the Sharkies in the 4 o'clock game. Now, historically, Manly, I guess over the past sort of 5 or 10 years, have really dominated the Sharkies. It just seems to be a team that we don't come up well against. And I can just see the same thing happening. Marty Tapau returns from that dislocated thumb. Adam Fanua-Blake, whenever he comes up against us, he just wants to destroy us. I think it might be an Andrew Fafita thing because he wants to show that he's the biggest and baddest front rower in the game, and I don't think he's too far off it. Obviously, you've got the likes of Payne Haas and that these days, but this guy's definitely in that conversation. May not equate so much to Supercoach point, but dominance on the football field, definitely. Lachlan Croker gets a spot in the 6th there, obviously with Dylan Walker out. He copped a nasty head knock there last week as well. He got cut above the eye and below on the cheek. So he'll have to have that stitched up, no doubt. We'll see how he comes back. Brendan Elliott taking the Tom Turbo spot. Now, obviously, you can't replace Tommy Turbo, but he's definitely done a good job in this. I've followed him when he was at the Knights. I followed him when he went to the Titans. Great young player, and he'll definitely do that number 1 spot well. I reckon he might even score a double against the Sharkies. I think Manly will probably get over us by about 14 or 18 points. What else we got? Benny G, AFB, long way to go. Paulo rate higher. Yeah, look, I think you're right, mate. He does have a lot to learn, but just from raw ability, Paulo doesn't make it through the front line too much. I don't know. I think I like what I see between guys like Papali and Fanua Blake. I don't think Paulo's as good as those, but yeah, each their own opinion, mate. For the Sharkies, look, obviously Moylan named at number 1 this week. A lot of people would have been a little bit disappointed with Will Kennedy getting drop late. I know a few people had the reserve on him. But the Sharkies, yeah, look, as much as I'm happy with our roster, there's something just not there at the moment. They're not a good side. So I can see, just Manly absolutely destroying us here up at Central Coast Stadium.
Another one on the Central Coast.
Yep. Everything back to normal next week. So all the home grounds back to normal next week. We'll see the Raiders back out of Bruce Stadium. We'll see the Sharkies playing out of Cogra for some reason. But obviously doing redevelopment there at Cronulla Stadium. And the final game of the round, and we have the Doggies up against someone else. Who is it? Doggies up against the Tigers. Yeah, look, not too much to say about this game. As we sort of spoke about, Twale's the big out for these two teams. Injured 4 to 6 weeks off the park. Matty Eisen, who slips into the number 13 spot. And as I say, my buy of the week, or my pod of the week, is probably a Luke Garner next to a Joey Manu, who I've got Joey Manu in. I can't find a way to get Garner in, but yeah, I reckon he's about to hit a good amount of form. And coming up against a dog side where Luke Brooks can find some spaces on the left-hand side, I reckon that'll be a definite chance. Will Hopewadi, now that he's got that fullback spot back, I think he's around about 480k. I think anyone who wants to get him in, very, very good option. The form that he's in the centre wings, I think if he stays at that fullback position for the rest of the season, he'll average 60 in the centre wings, which is good enough to be in anyone's team. What do we got? Juicy Harry Grant for my captain choice this week. Oh, gotta disagree, Benny. I don't know. Harry Grant's solid, but anyone who I want in my captain, I want them to be able to have the ability to score 120. And even up against a shit Dogs team, I don't think he can do it. But that's it, mate. Yeah, what do we got next? We got the trading floor.
Yeah, go into the intro for that.
Change places! Change places!
So, first up, my trades.
Yep.
Bringing in Cleary for Luai via a swap with the Snoz.
Yep.
And Ponga in for Turbo.
Yeah, nice, mate. You had a bit of catch up your sleep.
I did. After last week's trade, I had a few $100,000. I still might change though. I was my initial trade was gonna still Ponga for Turbo, but I was gonna bring in Cam Smith for Appy. But I just thought that Cleary would be the better buy this week and firm up the halves a bit more.
Mate, look, I think I'm not too sure how many teams have got him. Obviously, he had that 2 weeks out. Yeah, he's a big in for me, mates, and I'll be trading him in as well, as I spoke about. So I think he's going to have transition to that one, mate. Yep. Actually, question, mate.
Yeah.
And anyone at home, feel free to put it up in the chat. Do you know your overall team value at the moment, mate?
I can fucking tell you. I've got my phone in front of me.
So for me, I think I'm up to about 11.7 million. So definitely trending up the right way to sort of afford the right team that I want on the park.
Yeah, 11.6.
Yeah, okay. So around that same mark, I think couple of blokes might be sort of cracking 12 at the moment. A lot of guys up there in that top 50 or 100 with the amount of sort of price rises that have been out there. But, mate, Nathan Cleary coming in for me as well. Billy Walters, look, yeah, I needed to get the cash from Tommy Turbo because I didn't have much in the bank. So no doubt I would have preferred to go to Ponga as well from Turbo, but it was just never going to happen. So a little bit of a pod move here with Joey Manu, and we'll just sort of see how that goes.
Everyone's quoting their team's values now in the chat.
Troy
Come on,
Boy,
everyone,
11.5. Gomez, 11.9. Benny, 11.9. Matty Lebet, 132. I don't know what that means, mate. Or 13.2. Shit, if you're 13.2 already, you're flying.
If you're
I don't think you could be that high.
1.32, you're fucked.
Yeah, that's Matty Lebet, 13.2. He's got the Rooster salary cap. What's Ponga's break even, please, mate? Oh, I've got to be honest, mate. I'm filming on my phone, so I can't check. Brent Hampton,
I don't think
jump in the chat, mate. Give us the break even.
He's 700. Was it 777,000?
Yeah,
it would be fucking through the roof. You're not bringing Ponga to make money.
Possibly. Oh, no, it's not about making money, but it's just about whether you can miss him this week and still get him next week.
Oh, yeah, probably.
I think he had that 104, 159 or whatever it was 2 weeks ago, and then he's backed that up with a 76. So I'd say his break even still wouldn't be massive.
Benny G saying 132.
Okay. So hang on, there you go. So Ponga, that was what Matty Ledbetter was responding to, was the break even for Ponga was 132. There you go. Fuck, settle down, boys. 132. All right, I get it, boys. I'm having a rough day.
Ban you guys.
Yeah, get him out of here, Bogan.
All of them.
Silence, all of them. Yeah. There you go. What else we got? Trading floor.
Trading floor and onto the leagues. Fuck you all. Again.
Fuck you all. Hey, what do you mean again?
He was top of the group a few weeks ago, I believe.
Nice. Solid.
With
1284.
1284. So quite a low scoring week for everyone.
That's a good score last week. 1284. That's huge. Yeah. So what is he overall? Does it say?
Yeah, he's 855th.
Okay. Solid.
Yeah. So
solid. Very solid.
Just let me bring up the next graphic. So the overall top 10 for the group.
Yep.
And I'll just get rid of the chat for a second. So you can see there, Joshy. So Devious Devastation still up the top, and he's sitting at 119th overall. So we've slipped down the rankings there. We did have a few people in the top 100 a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I think Lockie was about 35th or something like that. So he obviously had a poor week.
Still within striking distance this early on. So,
but there you go. There's some team values there: 12.1, 11.9, 11.8, 11.8, 12.1. So, yeah, some solid, obviously, value teams out there that people can get some plenty good players and that. After the group code, mate, what's the league?
Hold on. I'd have to change screens. Just let me get that quickly.
Sorry, boys.
So the group
I'm running
code
out of gas.
is 218667 if you haven't already joined.
Oh, no, I didn't. Sorry, mate. I meant after the group. What were the next league?
What's the next one? Well, that's a group code if you haven't joined.
218667. Yeah, mate, I remember that. I'll dream that tonight again and again.
DJ on GameDay League. Top scorer was fucking Kane Anderson. Again, my fucking nemesis.
Why is he your nemesis, mate?
Oh, because we were talking shit a couple of weeks ago in the chat, so that just makes him my nemesis now.
Fair enough. If that's all it takes, I better be careful.
I can only have one nemesis now.
Well, yeah.
If you're not my nemesis, I just ban you by the looks of things.
So Hell's Graddy's had another solid week. We mentioned Leanne with Fire and Ice, so she went well. Shano, 1120 odd, so another solid week. Bunning Snags, he's starting to creep up there. He's had a slow start to the year. He'll be a little bit disappointed, sitting down in about 12,000. So no doubt Charlie White, he'll be on the march northbound very, very soon. Kano has jumped on board. Hey, Kano, how are you, buddy? What do we got next, mate? The BJ on Game Day 2 League?
This would be the All-In League.
The All-In League. And what do we got? Joshy Miller's Dogs. Solid gig, solid score there. Paycheck, he must be up there, 6,965. What's his overall?
800.
I can't read it.
811.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. Treno with Killer Cronus, he's going very solid, very consistent scores. So some good scores there. I know, and what do we got? We just went away from the BJ Invitational League, didn't we?
Yeah.
I think we're 39th overall in the league ranking, and I think Big Ted's going to be absolutely into Taylor. Crazy Pineapple. She only scored about 800 this week. So,
yeah. We might have to put my team on Taylor if she wants to get in contact with you, Joshua.
Yeah, she better get in contact with me. I'll better give her my phone number.
BJ Version 2 League.
Version 2 League. Who we
Mark's
got?
Muppets.
Marky Hindle. Yeah, look, big shout out to Marky on Facebook. I'll post this up afterwards and he'll have a watch. Marky watches it week in, week out. Very, very passionate about his Supercoach. So, mate, Marky, keep on texting me, mate. I'll get back to you when I can, buddy. But yeah, very, very well done. Follows a lot of the I guess the broadcasts out there, the YouTube, the all your podcasters and stuff like that. So good to have you on board, Marky. So he scored quite well. Bogan, mate, you're just solid. You're just poking along there, mate. What are you ranked at the moment?
Higher than you two bastards.
Fuck, here we go. I feel the knife.
It's about fucking 20 points between the three of us, so that'll change this week, I'm sure. Sitting at 6,337. So, mate, inside the top 10,000, I'm fucking happy with that.
Mate, look at
considering my efforts last year.
Massive improvement this year, mate. So, but I don't think there's too many Supercoach players out there who managed to go well in their first season, unless it was the inaugural one, because you definitely got to learn of the players to avoid. They might be good on the footy field, but Supercoach is a different story. And what do we got after that one, mate?
Results from the BJ, the first grade, the draft league.
So what do we got?
Brent went down to Bundy's Bustards.
So Woody will be happy.
Big Ginge just got pipped by Hell's Grannies.
Yep. Can they go now?
You got flogged by fucking Kane Anderson, so he should be your nemesis too. That being said, you are going to be devastating if you can get fucking 13 players on the field.
Mate, you should see my other league. So the one that me and Brent are in. Last week I could only get 9 players on the park. I've got Bateman, I've got Tavanga, I've got Fafita, I've got Barnett, I've got so many blokes that are out injured. It's absolutely killing me. I think I went the wrong tactics at the start of the year. I'm going to leave my run well too late. So, yes.
I just pipped Ted by the skin of my teeth.
41 points, mate. That's not the skin of your teeth, mate. That's a comfortable.
It was going into Sunday's games, and it could have been anyone's. And I had Ted in head-to-head in the BJ on Game Day League as well. And I managed to pip him in both. But I tell you what, I would have preferred to drop the streak to Ted than to Kane Anderson.
Yeah, well, fair enough. Playing favourites, are we? And checkmate Mana.
He absolutely whooped Marty's team.
Yeah, he's the dark horse. There's no doubt.
He's top point scorer now after this week.
Mate, look,
that effort. And
we love our Supercoach, mate, but Mana is dead set the best bloke I've ever seen play Supercoach, consistently up there in the top 50, 100 and things like that. So I think this year he's not going too well, and last season he didn't, but years gone by, this bloke definitely knows his footy.
So speaking of the streak, it's probably going to be over this week because that top scorer who's on fire is who I'm up against.
Yeah.
So And that being said, if I can get past Mana and keep the streak alive, then I've got Kane Anderson the week after. So, if I can get past those two guys, I'll then make a fucking video.
I tell you
A
what.
video crowing, but I dare say I'll be very fucking lucky to get past those two teams because Kando's Crushers and Checkmate are definitely the fucking two front runners at the moment, despite what the ladder says.
Yeah. What Kano offered me a trade. Talk to me about when he offered you Teddy or wanted Teddy from you. What did he offer you?
He offered me Hodgson and someone else that wasn't.
I think it might have been Drinkwater.
Yeah.
Because he sent me just as equally a shit trade proposition for Turbo now that Turbo's injured.
Oh, now he's injured. Fuck it.
Oh, well, still, mate, he's out for 6 or 8 weeks, but in draft, that doesn't really matter. I get him back for finals.
He's going to do what he did last year. He's going to be back for 2 weeks and he's going to fuck that hammy again.
Well, that'd be right, yeah. But he just wasn't giving me enough. I think Paulie Vaughan and Dylan Edwards, fucking rubbish Penrith fullback. Jesus. I counted with Latrell Mitchell because he's got him playing in the centres and Paul Vaughan. And he turned it down. And that's fair enough. I was happy to give up Turbo, but I want to get some value for my money as well, Kano.
That's right. And
you're the new rapist.
Yeah, I'm not. And that's the thing. You would have to be wanting to trade me 2 guns to give up Teddy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
absolutely.
One gun and a mid-range player isn't even enough for Teddy. I'd want 2 guns.
Oh, we got a thumbs down. That's good. Look at that.
Yeah, it's probably from that dickhead.
Oh, that Jack fella. Yeah, fuck you, Jack. Fuck you. What do we got after that, mate?
The ladder. So I'm still sitting on top of the ladder. You're sitting in 3rd. That's what I mean. You are in striking distance. You just got to get fucking 13 players on the paddock, mate.
I've been lucky for a couple of weeks. I've been lucky. Well, you look at it there, 4 wins, 2 losses, but my for and against is negative. So, anyway,
yeah,
Hampton down the bottom there. That's what I like to see.
He'll leapfrog you this week.
Marty needs a win.
He does. Who was Marty playing?
Dave should not give it away with Vision and Power. Oh, Kano, mate.
No, he's not beating Kane Anderson this week.
I'll keep my Turbo. So that's the ladder there. What else we got? That's it, is it?
That's it, mate.
That's it, guys. Short and sweet this week. Only an hour hour and 10 minutes. Jeez,
it was. It must be Brent. He fucking doesn't shut up.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Hold on, we'll just quickly. I'll just quickly check the chat to see if there's. Bring that back up.
It's not really much there. Just all these blokes talking shit.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, boys. I'm done.
Yep.
Anything else in the tip, boys? Your tip for the week, something. What about captains? Let's talk about captain choice. I'm going to VC Cleary on Friday night. Look, I think the smart captain choice would be probably Teddy up against the Dragons, despite the head knock. If he's named to play, yeah.
Teddy's set and forget captain. I know you said that last year and you didn't go through with it, but I'm sticking with it this year.
Yeah, fair call.
And my VC will be Madison.
Nice.
Just because he's consistent scoring forward. So if Teddy does get rubbed out, that's not a bad one to loop to.
Yeah. Are we due a Bogan's rant, mate, or what's the go?
Oh, I had my bit of a rant, didn't I?
You got anything? Anything else?
I do. I have something that's not footy related. If you want that, but
yeah, mate, go for it. The people at home, they'd love to hear it.
Oh. So tomorrow, Wednesday, there's been a few Me Too accusations at some employees and streamers on Twitch.
Right.
So
Me too. So the female. Yeah, go on.
So of course, what do? You do the most powerful thing that you can do in the modern society today, is that you create a hashtag, right?
Yep.
Hashtag Twitch blackout. So a lot of Twitch streamers and Twitch viewers have said that tomorrow, on Wednesday, Twitch blackout. No one will be streaming on Twitch.
Wow.
So me being very much in tune with these types of politics, would like to announce that I'll be streaming on Twitch tomorrow night. Playing a bit of Fallout 3 on the
Going against the
Bogan
trend.
channel.
I love it. I love it.
Because fuck this shit. Like, it goes back to that cunt that was fucking complaining about us swearing before, right? I'm fucking sick of this speech policing. And they're saying fucking blackout Twitch because we want a safe environment for streamers and fucking blah, blah, blah. I don't. I want an environment where people can fucking get up and say whatever they want to say. And if you want to watch it, you can watch it. And if you don't want to watch it, you can fuck off. Like, so...
Oh, dear. I love it. I love it.
So,
I completely agree too.
Tomorrow night on Twitch, I might even do it on the BJ and GameDay Twitch because it's already loaded into the OBS.
Mate, absolutely.
I'm going to play some Fallout Bogan 2. Yeah, that's it, mate. I'm going to play some Fallout 3 because it's got Liam Neeson in it, and Liam Neeson was cancelled last year for some inappropriate comments, so I thought that might be a good one to stir them up.
And at the end of the day, I think it's not that you're not against the Me Too, not so much the movement, but
everyone should feel safe in their work environment and in their day-to-day life and blah, blah, blah. Don't fuck with my entertainment because that's what I use to distract me from all that bullshit you're complaining about.
Mate, fair call.
Don't fuck with my movies. Don't fuck with my comic books. Don't fuck with my video games. Don't fuck with my sport.
No, it's
I don't
for life.
fucking give a fuck about morals when I'm consuming those products.
Oh, classic.
Now, if you want to have a political discussion about the state of the fucking world and how fucking coppers can be cunts sometimes and stuff like that, yeah, cool. Have that fucking discussion. But keep it out of my fucking entertainment. Keep it out of my fucking dancing clowns.
There we go. All right.
Anyways,
Done?
sorry about
Happy
that.
days?
Sorry. I try to avoid the fucking video game topics.
Nah, I'm good. I like this. This is good. This is just it breaks the ice a little bit towards the end of the video. We'll definitely get better viewership next week. We've only during that rant we only dropped 7 viewers, so that's not bad.
How many subscribers will we drop? We're dropping at least one.
We got 2 more thumbs up based on that rant at least, so that's good. That's good.
Yeah, but that's...
See? Gomez, these are my favourite bits, Bogan rants. Absolutely. You need your own segment, mate. You do. You need your own segment. Next week, can you put a little, not a thumbnail together, but what do you call it? A little screen for when the Bogan's rants comes on.
Oh, like a fucking warning screen?
Absolutely, yeah, warning screen.
Do I
not safe for work.
Do I need to put into the fucking intro... explicit fucking language, viewer discretion is advised.
Oh, yeah. Actually, that should be the thumbnail next week.
Even though I fucking tick a box every time that I set up a stream
saying
that this is for mature audiences.
Next week, the thumbnail, explicit language, explicit content, absolutely. Warning to all viewers. Definitely.
Explicit rugby league talk.
Yep. All right, boys and girls, we're done. That's another week of BJ and Game Day, Bogan's rant included. Cheers for joining us, boys. Catch us on Facebook at BJ and Game Day. Leave plenty of comments, obviously. Get us on Twitch tomorrow night. We'll all join in to visit Bogan on that one. Cheers, guys.
Oh, hold on.
Hold on.
Have a good one.
Please hang up,
Oh.
Troy boy. Play Friday 13th PS4 best game, bro. What does that mean, Troy boy?
Friday the 13th, the video game. I didn't mind it. I'm not a big fan of the asymmetrical online games, but I was going to play Fallout once again because it's got Liam Neeson. He offends people, and it's a chill game. You don't really have to concentrate that much. I'm not fucking ninja. I can't do 360 no scope and talk on a mic at the same fucking time. I'm not that talented.
I don't know what any of that means.
Yeah. Anyways, outro.
I still play Flappy Bird.
Maybe I'll play Flappy Bird. I'll get Josh playing Flappy Bird.
Yes. I score 15.
Have a good one, fellas. Talk to you tomorrow night, hopefully.
Hey guys, Joshy here. Thanks very much for joining us for another episode of BJ on Game Day. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, hit the bell on YouTube for all your notifications. If you do want to follow us on Facebook, you can find us there at BJ on Game Day, and on Twitter we're at BJ on Game Day as well. So guys, we'd really like your support with that. Follow us so we can know you guys are enjoying the content. Thanks very much.